This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. It's just after 6 o'clock on Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. And I would like to welcome everybody watching this to the regular council meeting of the RM of Victoria Beach. I will call the meeting to order and we'll start with introductions. And if I could ask members of council to introduce themselves in alphabetical order by last name.
Okay, so that's me. Hey, Steve Axworthy, I'm a counselor.
I'm Mike Bartmanovich, Deputy Mayor.
Erwin Kumka, coming to you from beautiful Fort McMurray.
I'm Graham Randall. How do you do?
And I thought M came before R, but that's okay. Penny McMorris, Mayor, RM, Victoria Beach.
But you're the mayor.
Yeah, last but not least.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Raymond Moro, CAO.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and welcome. Moving on to adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved that the agenda be adopted with the following addition: Victoria Beach Community Center pylon signage. May I have a mover?
I'll move that, Mike.
If I could just add one thing to the agenda, just given the atrocities that are happening right now overseas, if we just have a quick moment of silence for Ukraine, it'd be appreciated.
Certainly. Can I add that to the bottom of other business?
Sure.
Or would you like to? Or would you like to do that right off the hop?
Move it to the top.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put it up. Okay, let's put it up to the top. Let's adopt the minutes. Hear our delegation, and then we can let our delegation on the way.
You have your agenda first, though.
Yeah. Well, yes. We'll take care of the agenda. Well, I guess it's got to.
I think it's been moved. I'll second the adoption of the agenda.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to add it to the top of other business. And I have no issue with this either. Before we continue, I did neglect to mention that this meeting is taking place on Treaty 1 land, home of the Cree and Anishinaabe, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Now we have Graham, who has seconded the revised agenda. Any other revisions? Hearing no others, I will call the vote. All in favor of the agenda as revised?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to the minutes of our previous meeting. Be it resolved that the minutes of the March 1st, 2022 regular council meeting be adopted as presented. May I have a mover, please? Okay, Steve, thank you. And Erwin, you'll second. Thank you very much. Comments, discussion? All right then, I will call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a delegation this evening. The delegate of name is Patrick Hoger of the Albert Beach Property Owners Association, who wishes to speak about the proposed washroom and parking area in Albert Beach. And I see that Grant Mitchell and Anne-Marie Thibert are also here. Patrick, are they on behalf of the ABPOA as well?
First of all, I'd like to clarify it's the Association Plage Albert Beach Association, not the Albert Beach Property Association, just for clarity.
My apologies.
That's okay. It's just I saw it in the minutes and I wanted to make sure for the agenda. Anne-Marie is a member of our board and a resident of Girard, so I work very closely with Anne-Marie, and Grant Mitchell is a resident of Albert Beach, the bay in question, and has been for over 30 years, an owner, and his wife's family have owned on our bay for almost 50 years.
Okay. And delegation, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. The Well, I would like to thank council for this opportunity. I'm working between split screens, so if I look like I'm not looking at you, my mic is, or my camera's over here. I want to thank council for the opportunity to speak tonight. We've already introduced Grant and Anne-Marie as additional representatives. Today, I'm also in the unfortunate position of having to wear multiple hats as I speak to you today. One, I have been the president of the Association Plaza Alberta Beach Association for over 6 years and on the board for approximately 10. Two, I'm the resident of the bay the bay that's going to be impacted by this development. And lastly, I'm pretty much ground zero by what I expect to be from an impact perspective by this proposal. I want to make it clear that I speak with the unanimous support of our board. All other 5 members have support this initiative, and all 9 cottage owners on this bay have given their written approval of our concerns. I also want to state that our association very clearly supports accessibility initiatives in the RM. What we are really truly against is the inclusion of public washrooms, garbage, and parking on what amounts to a quiet residential street or bay. Numerous members of our board either currently have today or have had members of their direct family with accessibility requirements, and including wheelchairs. So we are very much in favor of accessibility issues. I want to make that very, very clear. Our concerns primarily are with the increasing traffic on the bay, the safety of our residents and our kids and grandkids, the negative impact on our property values, and the quality of life at Alberta Beach. And I'd also note that none of these concerns were really addressed in the mayor's response to our letter in February. I want to make it clear that we are also fully aware of the fact that beaches in Manitoba are public unless you have riparian rights. At no point, there was a reference to this in the mayor's letter. I want to make it very clear, and no point is any of this being based on the fact that we think our beach is private. I do periodically attend council meetings, believe it or not. I listen to the audio of them quite frequently, depending on what's going on in council. In February, I listened to a council meeting where throughout the meeting, various members of council, and I don't want to pretend I'm quoting because I'm not, but you use terms like not how we do things at BB or the Victoria Beach lifestyle, and I think that's really important, preservation of our lifestyle at Victoria Beach. One councillor voted against a zoning development purely because he doesn't agree with development. And I agree with that as well. Also respecting the fact that we have to change and we have to address things like accessibility rights. So we have to make changes at Victoria Beach, but we shouldn't be making changes for the sake of changes. Our association and our residents of our bay, however, can't help but notice that the preservation of the way of life at Victoria Beach doesn't seem to include Alberta. Nowhere throughout the RM are parking stalls available on any of the residential streets. Parking is limited to lots or select locations along highway or non-residential streets. And to the best of our knowledge, and we may be wrong, and I have asked people this question, I've been told the answer is no, there are no public washrooms located on any residential street within the RM. Yet at Alberta Beach, council seems to be prepared to allow parking and put up a washroom on a quiet bay that only exists to service the 9 lots that were built there. This is completely against the preservation of the Victoria Beach way of life, in our opinion. In the mayor's response to my letter, she acknowledged that there are garbage containers and portable toilets in the parking lot today. However, and I will quote, she says, but they are too far away to be convenient for the folks on the beach. I have to, with all seriousness, ask the following question. When did council start caring about that? At every beach, at Alberta Beach as an example, Safi Road, the south side of Safi is Alexander RM. Those people come down Christopher, Sonora, Lakewood, and other streets to come down to the beach accesses at Hacko, Denisette, Louis Blet, and Girard, and none of them have washrooms, nor have they ever asked for them. And frankly, I attend the Alexander Association meeting every year. They've never said, geez, wouldn't it be great if we had bathrooms at any of those beach accesses? One of the nicest beaches at Victoria Beach, in my opinion, is the one, I don't know its correct name, and I haven't been down to the lake in a few weeks, is the one located by the Bible camp. And anytime I've been to that beach, because I have gone to it quite often over the years, there can be hundreds of people at that beach on any given day, and they're cottage, and there's no facilities there for them to use. Their cottages at Zaluski and Stuckey Road are hundreds of yards away, and yet we don't seem to be worried about that. But for some reason, we've decided we need a bathroom at Alberta Beach. Our association is concerned about the increase in vehicle traffic that will result from this parking lot and the overall impact of this proposal. These issues were addressed in my letter to council, but were not addressed in the response, in my opinion. No amount of signage whatsoever telling people that they can't park in a handicapped parking spot temporarily while they're dropping off their kids, their coolers, their toys, or picking them up after a busy day at the beach is going to change what people are going to do. This is going to dramatically increase an already dangerous situation on our bay. Despite the fact that council is saying that this road allowance is 99 feet wide, that may be very true, but the rest of the bay is not 99 feet wide. In fact, it's quite narrow. So you're going to have cars backing in and out, which is what Councillor Kumka and I have witnessed on numerous occasions since the parking lot went up, and adding parking spots to it that people will use as a drop zone to the beach is just a very dangerous thing to do. The mayor also identified in her letter plans to put garbage bins in place, bear-proof garbage bins. Again, we're very much against this proposal, and the reason is very simple. No amount of assurance from council is going to guarantee that those bins won't be overflowing on weekends. And as a person who lives very close to the parking lot and whose very good friend lives directly across the street from it, we have witnessed numerous weekends where bears and skunks are in the garbage because it hasn't been picked up. You are going to put garbage that is surrounded by cottages where kids are playing, and you're going to introduce rodents and nuisance bear visits that don't exist today. And this is something council is going to own responsibility for, because it's just, in my opinion, should not be happening. In addition, our association, is very concerned about why council is spending money to service an area that 99% of the traffic is going to come from surrounding rural municipalities and including Winnipeg. Quite frankly, I've been president of the Beach Association long enough and know enough people in the area to know that nobody from the RM of Victoria Beach at Albert Beach use that as their beach access. So basically what you're doing is spending money and impacting residents of your RM and servicing other visitors who come out for the day to our beach. I have to ask how the taxpayers are going to feel about this proposal. As I said, mobility, we support mobility rights, and in fact encourage council to stop building bathrooms and put more mobility mats strategically located around the RM, because it is extremely hard for us to believe that people within the vehicle restricted area or east of 59 outside the gates are going to get in their car and come to Albert Beach for the day because there's a mobility mat. Quite frankly, that's a map to nowhere. Where is it going to? It runs to the end of the path to the beach. If you are in a wheelchair or you have a motor scooter, you cannot reasonably expect that they're going to drive suddenly onto the sand. You got them to the beach, there's nowhere for them to go. There is no any kind of a boardwalk or anything like Grand Beach, for example. I want to finish my address today as a resident most potentially impacted by this proposal. I frankly find it unconscionable that council has gone this far with any form of resident engagement. This proposal has the potential to destroy my family's privacy, my property value, my ability to even sell this property, and could potentially cost me tens of thousands of dollars. My road access to my cottage, and most of you have been to my cottage or been around my cottage to know where I'm talking about, has existed for over 50 years. I didn't put it there. When I bought my cottage 22 years ago, it had already been in place for 30 years. My septic clean out is predicated on having the access through that parcel of land. And if I'm forced to move my property access onto Saffy Road, I could be facing tens of thousands of heavy equipment costs because it's all big rocks and boulders. And I will expect that council will cover 100% of all those costs, and I will be looking into my property rights regarding this matter because I find it absolutely unacceptable what's happened here. I'm going to turn it over now to Anne-Marie, who's going to speak for a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Council, for this opportunity to speak. In the interest of time, I will not be emphasizing or reiterating most of the points made by Pat, but suffice it to say, I am in wholehearted agreement with the issues he has raised. I must, however, restate Pat's comment about the total lack of public consultation on this matter. I'm a resident, and I add, worked in public engagement for 20 years, and I am a true affected stakeholder. At no time prior to this approval process was there an opportunity to provide feedback, because no one I know had any idea this was going on, and I am really disappointed. I'm a resident on Girard, shortly to be a full-time permanent resident, and my father is in a wheelchair and visits frequently. As he is a past wilderness canoe trip guide, I would love nothing more than to provide him the opportunity to visit the beach, feel the sand between his toes, and even float in the cooling waters of the lake. So I wholeheartedly support access and accessibility considerations. However, from my perspective, the committee's plan, now with council's endorsement, has not been well thought out. The mats could certainly be useful, but I point out 3 things. 1, I don't need parking to get my father there, and I'm a resident. And 2, his wheelchair can't roll in the sand once he reaches the end, and he would be much better served with access to one of those dual purpose large wheeled floating wheelchairs. And I'm sorry, I meant to do some research to find out what the name of them is, but there are other municipalities researching these things, but they're basically amphibious, I guess, where they can roll on the sand and then they can go in the water. And so if you could transfer to something like this, and then perhaps instead of a washroom, a storage shed could be built for the mats and these floating wheelchairs, if perhaps there are 2. He does not, and 3rd, he does not require facilities as residents. We have this all available for him. I truly believe our taxpayer dollars and the needs of our residents, as our dollars should be servicing our residents, would be much better served with the suggestions I have made. And I thank you in advance for your thoughtful consideration of these points. I believe now Grant will speak.
Yeah, thanks, Anne-Marie. And I'll reiterate a couple of points that have been mentioned, but my biggest concern has to do with safety. I'd like to thank you guys for allowing Anne-Marie, Pat, and I to talk and express our concerns regarding the proposed construction of the washroom and parking stalls located next to Traverse Avenue. The facility will result in additional traffic on our bay, Traverse Avenue. Me and the other cottage owners on the bay have real concern with safety. I personally have 5 grandkids, and there are other families with children and grandkids as well. Our quiet bay has become increasingly busier over the years for a few reasons. Number 1, the roads become a drop-off at both ends for beachgoers, as Pat has mentioned. Cars regularly drop off persons on the west end near the Girl Guide camp, which is located at a dead-end drive. This requires vehicles to back up and blindly U-turn. Cars also stop on the east end of our bay, where the municipal pump house is. And this, as there's another public path down to the beach by the pump house. And additionally, that pump house has increased the traffic greatly on its own, specifically in the off season. The Victoria Beach restricted area bans vehicles during the summer months because the roads are single lane and would cause a safety hazard to cyclists and pedestrians if vehicles were allowed. Our street is a very narrow one-way lane. In addition to the pump house, and more so with the opening of the Arm of Alexander public lot up Pitt Road, our bay is turned into a thoroughfare. Many vehicles drive down to the Girls Guide camps, drop off people, head back to the parking lot to park, and then come back down for pickup. It's already busy with no public washroom or public parking. I know it's handicap parking, but public parking nonetheless. However, once the RM builds the bathroom facility and the parking stalls, it will make drop-offs and pickups even more convenient and result in more traffic. To that end, safety is an issue. We've had to tell drivers to slow down on numerous occasions as our kids and grandkids play in the yards and run across throughout the street to see friends throughout the day. They ride their bikes up and down that road. It's a great quiet bay. It used to be a quiet, safe place, but it's just got busier and busier. One of our neighbors now puts up a slow children parking sign, but for people who are not residents of the bay, it has little effect. We have enough traffic on our bay, and the construction of a public bathroom with parking will simply increase the traffic flow, resulting in a more dangerous road for the residents and the children and grandchildren, not to mention the noise this will cause. There are far better sites that should be considered where vehicle traffic and subsequent safety issues are far less of a concern. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Grant. I want to thank Council for giving us the opportunity to speak tonight.
Can I address some of those comments, Mike, please?
Absolutely. Patrick, are the presenters finished?
Yes.
Yes, we're
Okay,
finished.
thank you all very, very much. And I'll start with Penny, and I will invite questions from council.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Patrick, Grant, and Anne-Marie. I appreciate hearing your concerns and your comments. I'd like to clarify a few of your statements. We do have public washrooms for residents and visitors at Pier Point, a public washroom that is accessible to all residents and visitors, accessible if you have accessibility needs as well. So there is one on Pier Point already in the vehicle restricted area. It is used mostly by fishermen in the off season. As you stated, with the exception of the privately owned beaches, riparian rights, all of our beaches are public. The washroom on the road allowance is not going to take up the entire road allowance. We are not going to clear cut 99 feet. It would only be on the near the Safi Road end for ease of clean out and sanitation. For a number of years, council has heard complaints and comments from the Albert Beach cottage owners about the debris, the garbage, the human defecation in the bushes coming up that pathway. For years, we've heard residents in your area complain that they're constantly picking up garbage. They're constantly seeing people use the bushes as a toilet. In the past, we have been asked if we could at least put a toilet and garbage bins up there by a resident. So the bins that we're considering, the garbage bins that we're considering, are in fact bear proof and rodent proof. Yes, Patrick makes a really valid point. Will they be emptied on the weekend when it's the busiest time? That's a good point. That could be addressed. We will have to do a legal road survey to determine the exact road allowance. And we don't want to get in the way of the Girl Guide camp. We want to make sure we're on our own property. When you put in accessible infrastructure, which you all support, you need to have washrooms in place. It's highly recommended that you have those services in place. This is only one of 3 areas that the committee, the accessibility committee, has considered. The other one is Clubhouse Beach, where we already have an accessible washroom. And the other one is at the end of Wanasing at the very east end of David Road. So those are the other 2 areas. The addition of 2 or 3 parking spots for persons with disabilities. Again, Grant and Patrick made excellent points about policing, if you will, people who don't have handicap permits using those stalls, using the area for drop-off. Aside from asking our police to pay more attention to these areas and soon to be our community safety officers, signage is our only option, or an additional option. I agree, no one wants any more signs and very few people read them, but Councillor Kumka has made it a point over the last 4 years that we need to improve the signage in Albert Beach and that we need to get a sign at the Pit Road parking lot, letting those people who use that parking lot know what our rules and regulations are when they come to our side of Safi Road. We haven't done that yet, and we should. But I hear your concerns about extra traffic. I find it difficult to believe that two accessible parking spots will result in droves more traffic. But I do believe it's necessary for persons with disabilities, no matter where they reside in our municipality or outside, to have access to a beautiful beach. This is one option for them, no matter where they live, even if they're Anne-Marie's father on Rouge Girard. They can come down and try this beach. The Moby mats would be possibly in a T, so that yes, you would go down the Moby mat to get to the beach, but then we would have some offshoots so that people can actually get off the Moby mat and onto a separate Moby mat area where they can have a little more space to themselves. We can't get them into the water. We don't have lifeguards. We cannot be responsible for the safety and the liability of persons on these amazing machines that Anne-Marie spoke about, these amphibious wheelchairs, if you will. Nor do I think the municipality has the funds for them, but again, I don't have the costs either, Anne-Marie. I can tell you that this council unanimously passed a resolution for this project. We unanimously passed a resolution for another accessibility washroom project in the Village Green. I can tell you that the monies that would be dedicated to this project in Albert Beach the total project is about $33,000. We have been successful in receiving a grant for $25,000 for this project. There's $1,500 coming from a contractor. So the municipal part of this project is just under $7,000 to provide accessibility to persons with disabilities. In our statement of commitment, in our accessibility plan, the RM signed off on it. Every council member read it or should have read it, and they approved this accessibility plan. And we are committed to ensuring that all citizens, guests, and casual visitors have equal access to all of our goods, services, and facilities, regardless of their abilities. That's the first line of our statement of commitment. So I understand and I appreciate that you felt you should have had some consultation. This has been on our plates for a number of months. It's been discussed. And in December, Council unanimously passed this resolution to apply for this grant. We just found out last Monday that we were successful. So I think it also needs to be stated, and Patrick mentioned it, that Patrick is directly impacted. This road runs directly alongside his cottage. It also runs alongside Councillor Kumka's cottage, and the beach is in front of Councillor Kumka and further. So I appreciate that not many of us would want to have a washroom and garbage bins beside our cottages, but this is municipal land, and this is a service for residents and visitors with disabilities. It is not meant to be harmful. It is meant to improve life for residents and visitors. Thank you.
I may address a couple of your points. In the 10 years that I've been on the association board, we respectfully asked the council work with the RM of Alexander to address washrooms, but we had no point. While one of our residents may have asked you directly to put a washroom in Albert Beach, at no point have we put in a request stating that we did. I will also make a comment that in the council meeting I attended, one of your councillors did change his vote on your grant request. So it wasn't.
No, they did not. No, they did not. It was a unanimous approval.
After the fact, I'm saying one of your councillors changed his vote. So please
a month later, Patrick.
So 2 council meetings.
Or later.
Doesn't matter. He changed his vote on the record.
I'm sorry, Patrick, but he cannot change. You cannot change a vote once you've made it. So I appreciate that they may not have wanted to make that vote. Nevertheless, it was made. You cannot change your mind after the fact. You can't change your vote.
So you acknowledge 2 things. You basically acknowledge that this washroom is going to go up right beside my cottage and could come very close to my property line.
I'm not entirely sure.
Well, this is part of the problem, and Anne-Marie nailed it with regards to the engagement. Nobody in the area has had any discussion with you and council on the plans. The accessibility committee and council have had some discussions, but there has been no discussion with area residents. And frankly, I find it really disrespectful to area residents we're turning accessibility into a much bigger issue than it needs to be. Yes, we agree with the need for mats, but what this is turning into is now we're not against accessibility whatsoever. We're against the fact that you're doing something, you do in one other place in the RM, that washroom that you referenced is basically in a public area. It is not on a quiet bay. And with due respect to your having difficulty believing the volume of traffic and how it's going to impact it, I would encourage any one of you councillors on a long weekend or any of the weekends in June, July, or August, if it's nice out, to come and see what we're currently going through and tell us that you're not going to make it worse. So we have been living here for 22 years, and Irwin's been there for over 50. And we know what we're talking about when it comes to this bay. So with all due respect, you finding it hard to believe, you're just not understanding what's the dynamic is at this bay at this point in time. And putting parking lots there, you can't expect the police to respond to these incidents. Irwin and I and Grant last year on multiple different occasions called the police for different things, dirt bikes, quads on this path in question, and they continue to do so. Dogs on the beach, 4 or 5 of them just outside this path that you're talking about. We've called the police. They either don't show up, or when they do show up, it's so much later because they're so busy. But putting in place another thing that they have to try and police is fairy tales and pixie dust if we think it's going to have any impact. So yes, as residents, I think we have a very good reason why we should be concerned. Everything that I always hear council talk about is preserving the Victoria Beach way of life. And yet it seems when it comes to Albert Beach, it doesn't seem to really matter. And everybody that we've talked to, I have yet talked to one person who has a cottage at Albert Beach who thinks this is a good idea where you're putting it. And that it services people way outside of RRM. You have no study that this hasn't been brought forward at the senior scene to any kind of meeting of people with accessibility needs to say, hey, if we put a washroom at Albert Beach, would you get in your car and drive to Albert Beach for the day? I doubt it. There's no studies that have been done that actually prove that people want what you're putting together. And this is the problem we have with it. To think that people from the vehicle restricted area or outside the gates on 59 are going to get in their car, drive to Albert Beach to go sit on the beach for the day, find it hard to believe, and so do most of our members.
And if I could add one more thing, it's a little bit off topic, but the restricted area of Victoria Beach has parks, playgrounds for kids. Albert Beach has absolutely 0 parks or playgrounds for kids. We had suggested maybe buying a lot, the RM, and it had never came to council, but talking internally, buying one of the lots down by the store so you could put a park in. This would be far better set up to have a park in that location than a washroom, where families can come down, use accessible mats, and have a park with some slides, swings, whatever, some kids area where they can play, because there's none of that at Albert Beach.
But we are becoming the primary place for all things accessibility, apparently.
No, Patrick, that's not correct. You weren't listening when I said that there were going to be 3 accessible beach areas that have been promoted and discussed within the accessibility committee. Many members of the accessibility have accessibility issues as well. You are not the only ones who are going to be getting, hopefully, an accessible beach area.
Steve, I think you were something.
Go ahead, Steve.
Sorry, I just had to unmute myself there. So I just want to put out there that my assumption, and assumptions are always sort of the bane of existence, was that the local residents would have been consulted in this process. So I am a little surprised to find out that they weren't. At least this is my general assumption, given that Patrick is on the association, which is representing the local residents. I think it's pretty clear that as long as Patrick, Grant, and Anne-Marie are representing the area appropriately, that there's sort of a general consensus at the very least that this is not desired right now. I would only put forward that maybe, again, I haven't seen the actual grant. I saw all the paperwork after the fact, but that is there a way that we can use that money for one of the other locations that we have in the plan, if that's possible. Irwin and I spoke a little bit earlier today, in between of work and now work, but whether or not we might be able to put a swing gate up to prevent the ATVs and ORVs from coming through that area, to possibly mitigate the impact to that particular area. But at the end of the day, I just want to come back to something that I proposed to council several times, which is that we really need to look at making a formal request to close the Pitt Road parking lot. Right now, it is acting as a come one, come all, use Victoria Beach at your leisure. But this is beyond an issue of the of this washroom, because the washroom is a symptom of the larger problem, which is that we're allowing ourselves to be at the mercy of this parking lot, which was built without any consultation with us. I just wanted to throw that out there because at the very least, I want to make it clear that my assumption was that the local residents had been fully consulted before going forward with this project.
I can categorically state the first time I heard of it was a couple months back. And I do want to address one thing about safety in regards to that parking lot. There's been comments made, well, and especially by Jack Briscoe, that he fixed a safety problem by moving that parking lot up the road. I'd like to point out you still have to walk about 200 yards from the parking lot to Safi Road and specifically to the Girl Guides area to get to the beach from that parking lot. And by the way, on weekends, it's routinely full and people park back up Pit Road all the way past the ridge. So it has gotten people a little bit off the road, but it has not addressed the safety. And Steve, I want to thank you for acknowledging our concern, because as I mentioned, you can imagine what it would feel like. I'd like to put this out there, folks. For those of you who have cottages, and you all do, how if you came in and found out that your access to your cottage, now, like I said, I wear 3 hats in this issue: president of Beach Association, live on the bay, most impacted resident potentially. How you would feel if you're right away to your cottage that's been in place for 53 years, crossed across the municipal land in question, and you are of the concern that my access and my ability to park my vehicle where I have for the last 22 years is gone. I could find myself not being able to access. Guess what, folks? I'm retiring in 6 weeks. I was really looking forward to spending my summer at the lake, but I can't get to my cottage because there's construction going up, building parking lots in my driveway. And with all due respect, due to the lack of consultation, Erwin and I, the 2 people that the mayor just identified as the 2 most impacted by this, really have no idea where any of this is going and what the plan is. And it does concern me that members of council haven't seen that either. I think we have very reasonable reasons to be concerned.
May I make a couple of comments? Oh, go ahead, Anne Marie.
Just 2 points, and they're not, I mean, I know we're all kind of going a little all over the place because we're speaking after other people, but just 2 comments. One, Penny, you made a comment about, you know, that let's call them the amphibious wheelchair idea was great, but then, you know, then there's the whole issue of about like safety for that and lifeguards and all that. Well, we already don't have lifeguards, and I don't know why there would be any expectation that there'd be a need for extra security because our family members are using these, just like my kid jumps on a floating island. Like I mean, we already self-police the use of on the lake. So that was just one thing I wanted to comment is you know, I don't think that would be a concern if we moved in the direction of investigating in the cost of one of these. And you are right, I believe they are quite expensive. And I guess the other concern I have is with the mats themselves, these Moby mats. Well, those of you who are at Albert Beach know, and I'm sure it's the same at Victoria Beach, the beach changes from day to day depending on the wind and the water level. So how, I love the idea of teeing out and having offshoots, because that makes sense. Then family can, you know, set up off to the side of the mat. But I'm thinking, who's cleaning these mats off every day? How are they going to be positioned? What happens if there's a storm? I mean, we already know our public works staff works really hard. So anyway, I mean, I don't want to talk against not having the mats, but I mean, that's also just another, you know, adding to enforcement and maintenance and upkeep is how these mats would be, you know, how would they be cared for and managed?
We're in favor of those mats. I mean, to be clear, we are not against the mats. We think that they're a great idea. What we're against is public parking, washrooms, and garbage on a private residential bay that's designed to service 9 cottages suddenly becoming a freeway. And I'm sorry, nothing that anybody can say can tell us that we're wrong, because we're living it.
May I make a few comments?
Oh, floor is yours, Erwin, sorry.
Had a little glitch here. Mayor McMorris is totally correct. One cannot change a vote. I made a serious mistake. I wasn't paying close attention. I apologize for that error at a subsequent meeting. And my primary concern is safety. A couple more comments. Mayor McMorris pointed out that we do have a public washroom at Pier Point. But during the summertime, when the traffic is greatest, you cannot drive to that Pier Point washroom unless you get into a taxi. So it's not exactly the same situation as was being proposed at Albert Beach. McMorris made a comment that we're talking about spending $7,000 to build this washroom. Now, what about the ongoing maintenance? That toilet is going to have to be cleaned daily. It's going to have to be pumped out probably twice a week. Public Works is going to incur ongoing, continuing costs, which could easily exceed the $6,000 or $7,000 capital costs on an annual basis. Is it appropriate for us to be spending money paid for by our taxpayers for the benefit of people who do not own property? Every person who comes to Victoria Beach either comes as a cottage owner, as a visitor, or as a renter. And they all have access to those private washrooms. We don't need public washrooms. We need better access to the beach. I totally support the Moby mats. I'd rather put the money into creating a larger platform at the end of the Moby mat so there'd be room for, more than just one wheelchair person. The idea of that mobility unit, putting the money into that, maybe fundraising to be able to buy it, that's an excellent idea. But, you folks, if you come there on a Saturday or Sunday in July or August, you're going to see probably 400 trips from the parking lot down to the Girl Guide camp, back again, back. If we had that kind of traffic in the VRA, the residents would be up in arms. Why does Albert Beach not continue to enjoy, or should continue to enjoy, privacy, quiet, and safety? That's what Victoria Beach is all about. But you're wrenching it away from us. That's not right. Thank you.
I believe that the reason why the resolution was passed is not trying to wrench anything away from anyone, but to try and address a situation that has been foisted upon the good folks of Albert Beach by a situation that was clearly out of our control, and that is, for the most part, the construction of the parking lot by the RM of Alexander on the southeast side of Pitt Road. We did make overtures to Alexander verbally and in writing, requesting that the parking lot be closed. It was a bad idea and it was having a negative impact. And we were told by Alexander that that parking lot was put there at the behest of people from the RM of Alexander, the people that the RM serve. So getting rid of the parking lot was a non-starter. It's not going to happen. Accessibility is something that Victoria Beach is striving for. The Albert Beach location was seen as ideal for accessibility in terms of Moby mats and such. As Mayor McMorris had alluded to earlier, for years we have been listening to residents complain about the garbage, the abuse of private property at Albert Beach. The placement of the accessible washroom was intended, with good intentions, was intended to facilitate the accessibility that Victoria Beach wants to see at more of its beaches. Let's face it, Albert Beach lends itself very well to accessibility as opposed to almost any other beach in the RM. Every other beach in the RM, you have to ford cliffs and sand cliffs and such. The addition of the bear-proof garbage bins was, again, the original intent was to listen to the concerns of Albert Beach residents, and that was the garbage on our beach is terrible, and people will not carry their garbage all the way back to the bins in the parking lot on Pitt Road. Pat, we're hearing you about bears and scavengers. The bins that we're proposing, these are park quality bins. These are not bear resistant residential bins. These are indeed bear proof bins. In the summer, the RM is very diligent in ensuring that that all of our bins are emptied on a daily basis because they have to be. Do we get caught out sometimes? Yes, I'm afraid we do, but we do our best. And in this case, with the facilities, with the accessibility considerations, and with the garbage bins, this council truly was working in what we felt was the best interests of the folks in Albert Beach.
Thanks, Mike. I just want to, if I can address a couple of your comments. The garbage issue at Albert Beach is much improved since they put their garbage bins in the parking lot. While I agree with everything you said about the parking lot, it was a project of Jack Briscoe's who there was extreme objections to that parking lot from the Cottage Association within Alexander themselves were against that parking lot and tried to fight it, but Jack was adamant that he was building a parking lot. So that's Jack's parking lot. The issue of the garbage, as I mentioned, has gotten much better since they put garbage bins on that parking lot. And frankly, as I mentioned, my property is ground zero for where I suspect you're going to put things, or next to my property. Irwin's number 2, and number 3 is Grant Mitchell. When you talk about when you come out the Girl Guides path and go onto the beach where the garbage is thrown. Yet who's objecting to this proposal? Irwin, Grant, myself. So clearly we're less concerned about garbage. At our association meetings, yeah, there's people who will say things about garbage and things like that. But the people that are impacted by it, I'll point out to you, because this impacts the people that are between this access and Playdon, because that's where most of the day trippers go to the beach. And so you're talking about a 200-yard beach access that is the area most impacted. Yet 9 out of 9 cottage owners on that bay in the area in question are the ones objecting to the proposal. So when we talk about addressing the needs of Albert Beach, Mike, I have to point out that the people that are objecting to it are the people most impacted by this. The people at Denisette and Gerard and Louis Blais are not impacted by this, and the day trippers, because they come and drop their visitors off at our access. So it is not, we are the people most impacted by this. 9 out of 9 of our residents have all signed off that they object to this proposal. Thanks.
Steve, your hand up.
Yeah, I'd just like to, this will be the final thing I'll say on here, which is that I don't think that we have listened to the residents, strictly for the fact that Patrick, Grant, and Ann are here, and Patrick is very clearly said that he's not just representing himself, he's representing the area association, and that was because of a lack of consultation. So as much as we're thinking that we're doing this in the best interest of the residents, you know, there's the best interest like health precautions, there's the best, and then there's the best interest in terms of what's never been, what hasn't been consulted on. And I think that this is something that does need to actually have consultation rather than being forced. In terms of only just an idea to throw out there again, because I haven't seen the grant, in terms of what it allows. for. And again, this is only an idea that I firmly believe that we need to formally request, again, if it has been done in the past, to close that parking lot. But if that's an absolute non-starter, perhaps there's a way that we can use this money to build build that washroom in Alexander to be able to keep all the problems up there. But I think at this point, with Patrick, Grant, and Anne, all three making a very compelling case, and the fact that the area hasn't been consulted, then I'm not for this project in this location in its current form until there is proper consultation with the area, and everybody there can feel comfortable with a washroom in whatever form that is, in whatever location that is. But at this point, I don't think I can support this project any longer.
Graham, are you looking to wade in at all, or?
No, I'm just listening and absorbing, and everyone and I have chatted about this off the record. The subject has been raised, and I have no idea at this point where it might go. That the grant funds could possibly be redirected. That's something that might be a possibility, and that would be up to council to initiate a review with the accessibility committee. But we voted unanimously in favor of the application. So you got to watch what you wish for, because you just might get it, and we've got it. So now we have to deal with it as best we can.
Okay, I am going to call an end to discussion at this time. Grant, Pat, and Anne Marie, you have given us food for thought, something to think about. I want to thank all three of you, and I'm sure the rest of the council joins me in thanking you for sharing your concerns. And again, it's food for thought. And it's food that will be taken into consideration.
On behalf of our association, I'd like to thank council for giving us this time to speak today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Have a good evening. Oh, good. Graham didn't go with them. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Moving on the agenda, we have committee reports coming up, and I'll start with Public Works, if that's okay with everyone. Yep. And it's a reminder for those coming out this winter, if you haven't been out this winter yet, the windrows are huge on most every residential road. And even with the warm weather coming, if you are planning on coming out to the cabin this weekend, you may want to call ahead to Public Works, give them at least 48 hours notice, and they will clear your windrow for you. You may still have 2.5 feet in your driveway, but the windrow will at least be cleared. So the Public Works number is 756-2286. Also, Public Works asks that I mention that if you don't have an address sign clearly visible, that is, if you have one of those beautiful rocks on the ground and they can't tell what your address is, it can be very difficult for Public Works to see your place, which segues into the next part of this report, and that is civic address signs are a big help to Public Works and also to emergency services. They help them to locate you in case of an emergency. To order a sign, please go to the RM of Victoria Beach website to download a civic sign order form. The cost is $60, and the Public Works Department will install these signs before the snow flies again in the fall. With all the snow this year, road maintenance has been a priority, including plowing, grading, sanding, hauling snow, and removing windrows on request. Regular maintenance, as always, and startup procedures are also underway for the VB water treatment plant and Albert Beach pump house. Steaming of culverts, particular interest to you, Graham, will begin as soon as it warms up just a little bit, which it seems to be doing now. And as always, preventative maintenance is ongoing on all of the RM's equipment. This cold weather really beats the heck out of heavy equipment, and the public works folks are staying on top of that, making sure our equipment remains in tip-top shape. As always, e-service requests can be made from the RM of Victoria Beach webpage. And Steve, I hate to steal your thunder, but they said, don't forget to sign in for VB Connect to receive important notifications. Okay, and that is the Public Works report. We'll move on to finance.
Sorry, I just had one quick thing to throw in there on your civic signs. I just want everybody to really understand this for just one quick second, just put a little bit more emphasis on why it's so necessary. You might be in perfect health, but somebody who's visiting you might not be. If you're not around and that person needs to get emergency access, it's very likely that if the emergency vehicles can't find your property, that that person may not be here with you anymore. Civic signs, while they might not look all that pretty, there's a reason why they're designed the way that they are. There's a reason why the colors are the way they are. It's because they're reflective. So in that way, at night or during the day, people can find you. We have heard multiple times that it is very difficult to find properties, especially in the restricted area. So please get your signs. It is extremely dangerous for you and people around you to not have your signs up. It can save a life, and beyond that, at some point in the future, it's going to be made mandatory. So you might as well jump on it now before it is mandatory.
Thank you, Steve. Moving on to finance. So, Erwin, go ahead.
Raymond, are you able to put up my graph?
He's going to hit share right there.
Can you move it up a bit? There we go. Okay. On a positive note, it's always a pleasure to present a finance report which reflects very positively on the activities of our administration and our staff. This report looks at the year-end figures for December 31st, and the graphs are reflective of that. Accounts, the reserves of Victoria Beach stood at $1,041,000, and that's up a whopping $251,000 over last year. Accounts receivable and miscellaneous assets at the end of December stood at $613,000, and that's down $49,000 from last year. Our cash balance is $172,000, and that's down $164,000 over last year. When I saw that large variation, I made some inquiries, and it turns out that the large payment that we make at the year end to Lord Selkirk School Division got coded in a different month last year compared to this year. So if we make an adjustment for that, our cash position is almost the same as it was last year. Our operating surplus to date is $78,000, and that's up $51,000 over last year. Combining reserves, cash, and receivables, the golden bar on the graph, that's the golden rule as I call it, we are at $1,796,000, and that's up $38,000 over last year. Tangible capital assets at the year end stood at $2,427,000, and that's down slightly from last year. Again, accounting entries on depreciation can affect. Again, it's always a pleasure to pass along good results. As you can see from that graph over the last 4 years, the golden bar has steadily increased. Again, we don't see wild variations. It's a very stable, well-managed municipality. And again, my congratulations to our administration and our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Erwin. Moving on to protective services. Steve, fire report?
Yeah, so there was a total of 2 calls last month. the month of February. One was for a snowmobile that flipped on its side and must have recovered and moved on because the caller could not stop. And even though the RCMP and the fire department were both involved, they couldn't seem to find any snowmobiler in trouble. So we all guess that they're okay. The second call was to help Pine Falls Ambulance with a person that had injuries from a snowmobile accident that was difficult to lift onto a stretcher because of their injuries. The fire department helped the person get onto the stretcher and load it into the ambulance. The fire department continues to maintain their gear and equipment. The new recruits are doing a very good job. And will be ready for their testing soon. Testing's been a little bit of an issue because of COVID and as well as training, but they've been able to prepare the trainees appropriately. So the fire department will get back into the regular training in March as their members all have their shots and COVID cases in the area are dropping. Reminder, please get all of your shots. And just to address the big ticket item in the room, Victoria Beach did not drop the ball when it came to applying for our licenses. Unfortunately, the provincial government forced this change onto us. It would have required us to double our training hours for volunteers. And unfortunately, that's just simply not feasible. And I don't think that I'm speaking out of turn when I say that this decision is going to cost some lives, unfortunately. But there's really nothing that Victoria Beach can do. It's a decision that affects the entire province, especially rural communities. And I personally, not speaking on behalf of Victoria Beach, find it abhorrent.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Very good points made. And we're going to move on to the police report. In February, there were 48 total incidents reported, including 3 responses to alarms, 5 assists, including 1 RCMP assist, 1 check on well-being, a call for a disturbance, a call about an impaired person. 1 person was pulled over and ticketed for manner of driving, and 1 report of a suspicious activity. And of course, there are special attention calls that the police continue to do in specific areas of the RM that require just that extra little eye every once in a while. And that is the police report. Special events, Penny, anything special going on?
Yes, thanks, Mike. I just wanted to let people know that not only did we get $25,000 for accessibility, but we got a $500 grant for Community Emergency Preparedness Day. Thanks to Shelley Napier, our emergency consultant, for securing that little grant for us. And we are going to use it. Shelley, our Fire Chief Brad, some people from the Office of the Fire Commissioner, Fire Smart, are planning to put on an Emergency Preparedness Day for Saturday, May the 7th. It'll be near the fire hall or the community club. And that date was chosen because it is actually Community Emergency Preparedness Day across the country. So we realize not everyone will be able to be here for it, but that's the day that the $500 was going to be put towards. So I think it's great, and we can market it on our website and Facebook page.
I believe it is going to be at the community center.
Okay.
And Penny, you're absolutely right. Folks who can't be out here to attend this very important and informative day, look for community awareness opportunities to attend wherever you are. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Yeah, I think that we should just see whether or not we can do something online for it. I have a lav mic, so it is entirely possible, I think, to stream that event. I think that especially for some of the residents who might not be able to attend but want to, I think it'd be very valuable. Plus, we might be able to do it over GoToMeeting and post it to the website. But just a suggestion that we can look into.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It certainly couldn't be a live stream because I don't think the bandwidth would tolerate it at the community center.
Yeah.
Golf course is up next. Thank you, Penny. Golf course is up next. I just wanted to mention a couple of notes. Rates for this coming golf season, and I'll only give seasonal rates. An adult couple rate is at $700 for this year. Single adult is $396. Anybody who golfs Victoria Beach more than 22 times between May and October may want to seriously consider an adult membership. You'll save money. Juniors 13 to 17 is $220, and 12 and under, $160. Green fees for walk-ups during the week, $18 per nine, and on the weekends, $20 per nine. Lockers, locked lockers, seasonal, $40, still a bargain. And open lockers, lower lockers, $30, upper lockers, $25. And that is, for the season. A couple of notes just to write down. Children 12 and under may not tee off Saturday, Sunday, or holidays until after 10 a.m. and must be accompanied by an adult. Small tournaments are welcome. Gift certificates and debit payment available. Golfers can drive into the golf course May, a significant part of June, and then again in September and October. And that is the golf report. And if you're like me, you look forward to buying your membership and putting it to good use. Municipal buildings up next. Councillor Randall.
All right, with municipal buildings, I've had to revise my report as submitted to council a few days ago or last week. It's developing almost hourly as we speak. There's two items worthy of mention. First of all, the bakery. I can report that conversations are continuing with 3 prospective bidders for the bakery lease. There have been several tours of the building and equipment with Brad's participation and his, let's call it cooperation. 2 or more bids are expected by the end of this week for council consideration. Every effort is being made to try to ensure the bakery is operating for the 2022 season as close as possible to its traditional level of service. But times change, and any new lessee will inevitably bring their own style to the operation. Moving on to police housing, which is a current issue. Plans are proceeding for the removal of the old police trailer and the delivery of a new modular 4-bedroom structure with full services. These plans are proceeding on schedule. The old trailer is supposed to move out near the end of March. You can appreciate that the exact date will depend on weather and other conditions. And the new structure comes in at the end of April. I've confirmed that this is a go with our supplier. And today's resolutions will deal with some of the contractor bids for the necessary site preparations. Also, it's worth mentioning that the search continues for a 3-bedroom home for Chief Constable and family. Furthermore, we have identified a lot that we think we can put it on. I expect more details before the end of this week on this. We have, it's also worth mentioning that we have secured a rental property for interim use by a chief. So we are making progress to make sure that we have arrangements for housing for our group of police personnel this summer. And that's the municipal buildings report. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Graham. We'll move on to, is there a doctor report, Erwin?
Just to report that we have secured a doctor who will be able to order drugs and medical supplies. There was some concern that there was going to be a gap, but I'm led to believe that that's like almost done. Other than that, no further comments.
Thank you, Erwin.
Can I just ask, Erwin, when are we going to see the updated terms of reference from the doctors committee? Have they had a chance to look it over?
I asked for some additional comments. I have not received formal response. I hope to get that. I'm back in Winnipeg at the end of the month, and I would aim for at the very latest the middle of April.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Erwin. Communications. I have nothing except for we keep the website updated as we keep it as current as we possibly can, as well as the Facebook page, and again, VB Connect is available to all residents of Victoria Beach, be you permanent or seasonal, and we hope you are all taking advantage of it.
And put in your Victoria Beach address and not your address in Timbuktu. We don't care. We only care about the one in Victoria Beach to save your life.
Thank you, Steve. I'm gonna assume things are all quiet on the information office front, but Penny, prove me wrong.
Well, you're absolutely right, except we are still looking for one more staff member. If anyone is interested, please send their resume into vicbeach@mymts.net sooner rather than later.
Perfect, thanks, Penny. Get to meet your neighbor. And on the building inspector desk, over to Graham.
Yeah, that's for me, and thank you to Curtis, our building inspector. After a record January, things have tapered off significantly for the month of February. We have 5 developments, 1 renewal, 1 renovation, 1 foundation, 2 sheds, 1 demo, and 1 main RTM for the RM. That is the new police accommodation building. The value of permits in February were $371,000, which brings us to $1,361,000 year to date. The permit fees collected in February, $2,716. The permit fees collected year to date is $9,015. We fully expect that this traditional lull that we see in February and March is going to pick up pretty quick as the season proceeds. So thank you to Curtis for his report. And that's it.
Yeah, new building isn't really on the forefront of my mind when it's -38 either. Thanks, Graham. Penny, accessibility.
Yes, thanks, Mike. So we just had a very good discussion with some representatives from Albert Beach about an accessible beach project. I'd just like to say that accessibility infrastructure and policies are not a luxury. They're a necessity. And we are all only 1 second or 1 step away from having a disability that will impact our lives or our loved ones in some way. So thanks to our Accessibility Committee for providing input into our updated terms of reference and mandate for the committee. These documents were also reviewed by Council and are further down in our agenda tonight for approval by resolution. I'm also working on the Accessible Employment Policy, which is due May the 1st. And I'm working on the updated VB Accessibility Plan, which is mandated to be updated by the province every couple of years. And I hope to have that on our April 5th agenda for approval by Council. And I'll get it to you before then. So that's my update on accessibility.
Thanks, Penny. Steve, last word, heritage and trails.
I don't have anything for heritage aside from the standard, which is that you need a website, except that I think we were all informed recently that AllNut has been sold, and apparently to be able to develop more of the website is going to be extremely difficult. It's already been extremely difficult to be able to do these 2 things, so that's that. For trails, the trails have been maintained very well. Public Works have been helping out wherever they can, keeping the accesses clean, and The cross-country ski trails have been fantastic this year. From what I've heard, people are respecting the cross-country ski groomed trails a little bit more. I don't think it's so much respect as much as it is more awareness than anything else. I think last year a lot of people didn't realize that to walk over the pathways was that destructive to them. So I think that there's just a lot more knowledge. And yeah, so I mean, on trails, that's really about it. Just we need to get the swing gates up in the spring. Hopefully we can do that as soon as possible, and order a whole bunch more so that we can close off that trail system. So it'll also help with the thefts in the off season. But aside from that, yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, be it resolved that the March committee reports. Oh, sorry, were there any questions from anyone on any of the reports? Hearing none. Be it resolved that the March committee reports be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover? Penny, thank you very much. Steve, would you second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Carried. Moving on to accounts and finances. The accounts and finances were passed around, and the resolution reads, be it resolved that the following list of accounts be approved for payment. Accounts payable checks number 9987 through 121 in the amount of $65,791.25. The March 4th payroll in the amount of $34,576.28, and Visa in the amount of $3,680.60. Erwin, would you move for us? Thank you very much. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Graham. As always, Erwin, we invite you to wade in and tell us about the finances.
I have reviewed all of the accounts payable, and they are all of a routine nature. The only sizable one is a payment to Autopack in the amount of $18,951, and that's for automobile registrations. But again, the balance are routine and seem to be well in order. Thank you.
Thanks, Erwin. Any questions for Erwin or for Raymond on any of the finances? All right, then. I will call the vote. All in favor of accepting?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Moving onward to other business. As Councillor Axworthy had suggested, I think this would be a good juncture to observe a moment of silence for in observation of the human tragedy that is taking place in the Ukraine right now. So I'll ask us all to observe a moment of silence. Thank you, Council. All right. First, under other business is a resolution to accept the proposed 2022 golf course rates. I did go through the rates, so I won't go through them again. But the resolution reads, be it resolved that the RM of Victoria Beach Council approve the 2022 golf court rates as follows. All above fees and memberships will include GST. Penny, are you?
No, I'll wait. We haven't moved it or seconded it yet, so I'll wait.
Thank you very much. Okay. May I have a mover, please?
I'll move that.
Okay, thank you. Steve, you'll second? Thank you very much. Discussion.
If I may.
Go ahead,
I just wanted the people to realize that we have run all these fees past Carl, our golf course manager, and he was supportive and in fact agreeable and initiated the change. So And it's still a reasonable place to golf. So thank you, Carl.
He initiated, so you can blame him.
And we all know from last year, if you compare the condition of Victoria Beach Golf Course to other golf courses in the area, it is a beautiful green emerald. It is a gem, and well worth the money paid to make sure it stays that way. Any other comments? Okay, I will call the vote. All in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Thank you. Carried. Our next resolution, be it resolved that the RM of Victoria Beach Council adopt the Community Accessibility Committee terms of reference. Now have a mover.
I'll move that, please.
Thank you, Penny. Have
I'll
a second,
second it.
Graham. Thank you very much. Penny, maybe tune us in.
Well, council received these terms of reference by email a while ago and reviewed them. The accessibility committee also reviewed them. And then it went back to council for today. So I off the top of my head, I can't tell you what date they were sent to council, but you have had an opportunity to read them. There's no significant updates. It's just bringing it up to today instead of when this committee was started 4 or 5 years ago.
Bringing it up to date, is that per provincial mandates? Was there a certain level that we had to reach in our terms of reference?
No, it was just time to review it. The committee realized it hadn't been updated for a period of time. And so we realized, yes, it is time to update it because we also have to update our accessibility plan. So now would be a good time just to make sure that we were all doing what we felt we should be doing, I guess.
Thanks, Penny. Any questions for Penny or any discussion?
I'm only wondering if now, just after the presentation that we just had, if we might want to put in somewhere in this I'm not sure exactly where it would go, but a necessity to consult the residents of which a motion affects them, because I don't think any of us ever want to be told again that local residents weren't consulted, especially the ones who are about to be affected by XYZ.
I don't know that that's really for the Community Accessibility Committee to deal with, Steve. I think that's a council issue. I don't know that it should go in the terms of reference for the Accessibility Committee. But I could.
It was a county. You're right, Penny. It was a council decision, not a Community Accessibility Committee decision.
Right.
Graham?
Yeah.
And the new description of the Accessibility Committee mandate, and of course the terms of reference that goes hand in hand with it. It was really just tidying up the words, the semantics, and bringing it up to date. There was no significant changes in intent. It stood the test of time quite well. It just needed to be tidied up a little bit. And we've all had a chance to read these two agreements.
Any other comments, discussion? I will call the vote. All in favor of the resolution as read?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
And I think our mayor deserves quite a bit of credit for the time that she's spent on these. It's an arduous process, word by word. So
thanks,
thank
Graham.
you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you, Penny. Next.
There's 2 parts to that. I think you skipped back up one. Yeah,
There's 2 resolutions there. One is the.
Didn't word it properly on that.
Okay.
Put 2 resolutions.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, it was the accessibility that threw me there. All right. The next resolution is the second part for community accessibility. We've just addressed the terms of reference. And now be it resolved that the RM and Victoria Beach Council adopt the Community Accessibility Committee mandate. Okay, and Penny, I'll ask you if you'd like to move this again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a seconder, please? Okay, thank you again, Graham. Graham seconds. Penny, what's the difference between the terms of reference and the mandate, please?
What we did in the mandate, again, as Graham mentioned about the terms of reference, it's just getting rid of some verbiage that didn't really need to be there. Also, in the committee mandate, we removed the committee members. It's not really necessary that they be in there. Same with the doctors committee, for instance. There's no list of members, and those members changed. So all we did was we added a clause, I believe, whereby if the committee wants to appoint a new member, that they advise council.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the main change there, I believe.
And then the mandate can survive committee after committee
Correct.
iteration after iteration after iteration, because we're talking positions,
Yeah.
not specific people.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Any other comments, discussion? Okay, thank you very much. I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone. Moving onward, the gravel tender.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. This just in. Be it resolved that the RM of Victoria Beach Council accept the tender from Rayan Transport Limited for the supplying, hauling, and spreading of 1,500 cubic yards of A-base gravel at a price of $26 per cubic yard, excluding GST. Further be it resolved that acceptance of said tender is conditional on the contractor meeting the specifications and terms outlined in the tender invitation. May I have a mover, please?
I'll move that.
Thank you, Graham. Graham moves it. Second by?
I can second.
Thank you, Penny. Penny will second. Discussion.
Question.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, let's have Erwin first.
It would appear that we've only received one bid for this job. Can Raymond offer any explanations? It seems rather unusual to just only have one contractor bid on the job, because we have several gravel contractors in the area. Just curious.
I sent by email tender invitations to, I'll say at least a half a dozen different contractors from the area. So I am surprised we only received one bid.
We're all a little bit concerned that there's only been one bid, but I've spoken to Raymond, and he has assured me that he invited 6 of them. It's regrettable that sort of our favorite gravel contractor supplier over the years has kind of withdrawn a little bit into a form of semi-retirement. I happen to know that they're not as active in a number of areas. So this is the best bid that we've got, and we've also asked questions about the quality of the product that he provides, and it's my understanding that he'll be held to account to the quality standard that's outlined in the instructions to bidders. So we've done the best we can to get competitive bids, and we've done the best we can to make sure that the quality is acceptable. So I don't think we have any choice but to accept this.
I certainly hope that the situation changes and we have competitive bids in the future. Erwin?
For the benefit of our public ratepayers, how does the $26 per cubic yard compare with the previous contracts?
The 24.
I think it's up by
for some reason,
about $2.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think $24 a yard for some reason strikes me as what the rate was the last time we awarded the gravel.
Yeah.
Contract.
It's up about $2, which is a pittance considering what's now happening to fuel. Our successful bidder may have is already probably having second thoughts. So let's lock them in.
Yeah, that's right. Before diesel goes up again, let's lock them in. Any other discussion? Thank you, everyone. I will call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried. Next bit of business, be it resolved that the RM of Victoria Beach Council acknowledges Bell Canada's option to renew the tower lease for an additional 5 years, effective May 1st, 2022, per section 3.2 of the original lease agreement and letter dated February 14th, 2022. Further, be it resolved that the municipality enter into negotiations with Bell Canada with respect to its request for 2 further renewal options of 5-year terms beginning May 1st, 2027. May I have a mover?
I'll move that.
Thank you, Graham. And Steve, you had your hand up. Could you second, please? Thank you. You want to give us a couple of words on this?
Well, Bell Canada has an ongoing lease with the municipality for its tower that's located in the Public Works Yard. In the latest contract that was signed back a number of years ago, there was a renewal option for 5 years at a set rate. There was 2 different hypothetical situations based on how the rate would increase, and that was in the letter that they provided to us a month or so ago. That's part 1, and that's fine. I mean, council, you don't have a lot of say in that 5-year option. However, they're asking for a further 10 years, so another 2 terms of 5 years, which is not provided in the original lease agreement. So that should be negotiated in terms of what is council expecting in terms of a dollar amount per annum.
We won't take their first number.
Yeah, we'd like to see some escalation.
This one, this 5-year term, you're because it was written in the previous agreement how it would be determined.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have much of a bargaining chip.
Right, but the next 10 years.
Further 10. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's why it's worded that way.
Okay, good. Thanks, Graham. Good question, Graham. Any other questions? Hearing no others, I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And Penny has left us. Could we mark Penny at 1 abstain?
Ask her for volume.
Penny, are you there with us?
I'd be having internet troubles.
If she doesn't respond to the call to vote.
I'm sure she'd go in favor, but we can't.
Yeah. No, we can't suppose that.
No,
So 4 in favor.
Sorry, I'm in favor. Sorry,
Oh,
I'm in favor.
well, okay, here we go.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Holy smokes, you were making me go into my bag and find my Robert's rules.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm back.
That's okay. Okay. Next up, be it resolved that the RM of Victoria Beach Council accept the quote from Mitch Poirier Plumbing and Heating to install a water supply line to the police modular home. Total estimated cost $1,856.96, taxes included. May I have a mover, please?
I'll move that.
Thank you, Graham. May I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Penny. Graham, this is to supply water to the new police barracks that will be located where the existing trailer is behind the police department. Is this for year-round water? Is this going to tie into the existing well that services the fire hall and public works?
It's a two-part quote. I sought 3 quotations. I've only received one. The Poirier quote is the only one we have before us. He has quoted the $1,856 to what it does. He will detach or disconnect the existing trailer near the end of March when it's supposed to disappear, and he will do the complete hookup of the new modular unit near the end of April when it is scheduled to show up. He has also provided, and we kind of like the look of his option, he provided an extra $1,850 on top of the $1,856 to do a year-round water hookup. The base bid is for seasonal water. That looks like that's what's going to happen. We've discussed this, and I've talked to everybody at some length with the opening of the water plant coming up and other priorities, and we have to wait for some of the frost out of the ground. Trevor has advised that he is unable to provide the trenching that Mitch would need to do the permanent water hookup. That'll have to be dealt with at a later date. So the new unit goes on the same system that we have now, but we do have a firm quote that would upgrade it later this year, next year, whenever.
Okay, so it'll be sooner than later.
Yep. So we're going to take Mitch up on his base bid and leave the extra for future consideration.
Okay, thanks, Graham. So at least as soon as the seasonal water comes on, the barracks will have water.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Graham. Any other comments, questions? By the way, Graham, thanks again for all of your work on all of this. You have been superhuman. I will call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Next, be it resolved that the RM of Victoria Beach Council accept the quote number 1717 from Wayne's Backhoe and Excavation to prepare the police modular home site, supply and install screw piles and relocate 3 sheds. Total cost $10,770 excluding taxes. May I have a mover?
I'll move that.
Thanks again, Graham. Penny, second. Thank you. Graham, again, this is about once the old dilapidated trailer is gone. This is a quote to remove the existing, or to make allowance to remove the existing trailer, to set down screw pile foundation, and to so that the new barracks can be placed level and on grade, and 3 sheds that are located around the existing trailer have to be moved out of the way so that the new barracks can be moved in.
That's correct. You've got the resolution down in detail. Here again, I requested 3 quotes. Only 2 of them could be evaluated, and my recommendation is that we accept the low bid. And the fact that it happens to be with somebody who we know and trust doesn't do any harm. Wayne Tobacco had quoted on a range of services and activities, one of which was the removal of the existing roof over top of the old police trailer. We're holding off on awarding that portion of this contract. I'm expecting one more quote that Trevor's been working on for me. So this gives Wayne the go-ahead on all elements of his quote except removing the roof, and we'll plug that hole within the next 4 or 5 days, I'm assured. So we're thankful that we had the interest that we did from several bidders. So once again, we're going with the the low bid, and I'd like to suggest that we approve this.
Okay. Well, Graham, you're the guy in the know, so if it's your recommendation, then I think the vote will be on firm footing. Any other comments, discussion? Okay, I will call the vote. All in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution
And,
carried. The next deals with council meeting schedule. Be it resolved that the council meeting schedule be set per the attached index. Do I have the attached index?
Next page.
Oh,
That's it.
all righty. Essentially, the schedule calls for both meetings in April, the 5th and 19th, be held in Winnipeg. In May, the May 3rd meeting held in Winnipeg, the May 17th meeting held at Social Scene. In June, July, and August, both monthly council meetings will be held at Social Scene out at the beach. In September, October, in both September and October, the first meetings of the month, the first Tuesday, will be held. Oh no, I'm saying that wrong. Okay, let's forget I said that. The first meeting in September, September 6th, will be held at Social Scene. The second September meeting, September 20th, will be held in Winnipeg. In October, the October 4th meeting will be held in Winnipeg. The October 18th meeting will be held at Social Scene. Board of Revision will occur Wednesday, October 12th in Winnipeg at 1 p.m. And the November and December meetings, the first Tuesday meetings for both months will be held in Winnipeg. And the second meetings, November 15th and December 20th, will be held at Social Scene. And all meetings at Social Scene will commence at 7 p.m. And all meetings held in Winnipeg commence at 6 p.m. May I have a mover? I'm tired just reading all that. Erwin, thank you very much. Penny, you'll second. Thank you. Questions, comments?
Well, this at long last brings us back to our traditional schedule of meetings, alternating back and forth between the beach and the city, with the exception of April, of course. So I think this serves our intent to be open and to be available. This schedule looks fine to me.
Okay, but now, just to ensure that everybody understands that COVID protocols will be up to the venues where the meetings are held. So it's Social Scene's call about what protocol, about what COVID protocols will be enforced when the council meetings are held.
Yeah, and right now they are proof of vaccination, which basically is double vaxxed.
Well, they're just going over and deciding what exactly they're going to be right now. Yes, but exactly what they're going to be doing going forward.
If they want to add the booster, that's a great idea, and I know Steve will agree with that.
Steve, you put a hand up?
Yeah, I would only just like to put the stipulation out there that all this is dependent as to what happens with COVID. If you take a look at the Italian numbers, the Italians got rid of all the restrictions much the same way as we did, which is that they wished and hoped and begged and pleaded and tried to wave a magic wand. Didn't work, and the numbers are skyrocketing now. So I think we'll see after April. So I like the fact that we're for the next several meetings going to be meeting in Winnipeg that allows for it to be online, limited contact. And I think by that point, we can actually make a reasonable determination to see as to whether or not we stick with this. But this is all up for change depending on what happens with COVID.
You're absolutely right. This is all subject to any dramatic change in the provincial guidelines. Could change on us on a dime. But there it is for now, and it looks pretty good.
Good points from both of you. Thank you. Any other comments, discussion? Then I will call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Carried. Next, be it resolved that the RM and Victoria Beach Council accept the quote dated March 7th, 2022 from Contech Projects 2017 Limited to replace the Lambeau filters at the 8th Avenue Water Treatment Plant. Total cost $7,000 excluding taxes. May I have a mover, please?
I'll move that.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Penny. And Steve,
And I'll
you'll
second it. Yeah.
Thank you. Steve will second.
Okay, Steve.
Discussion. What are Lambeau filters? Do you know?
Lamelas are, last year, the municipality purchased the lamelas from Veolia, the plant manufacturer out of Montreal.
I recall, yeah.
The lamelas are unique to each plant. They have to be custom built. It's not a off-the-shelf order. I don't recall the cost of the lamelas. It was more than the $7,000. This is the installation cost. So Contact, which is the contractor we typically use for all our work at the water plant, they will remove the lamelas that are in the water plant and replace them with these new lamelas. Now, what the lamelas do is, I knew you were going to ask me that question, and rather than try and speak to it without having some background, what they are clarifiers that work by utilizing gravity, which allows settling of larger particles to occur on the plates, which is the lamela, while the now clean water is allowed to flow freely past. So that's the purpose of the lamelas. You know, they're the original lamelas that came with the plant when it was purchased in 2008, I guess is when it was commissioned.
Okay.
So it's time that they be replaced to ensure the water quality is not compromised or that the plant breaks down because the lamelas are not functioning, and then we're really in a big pickle. So
okay. So the inorganics, like the iron and that sort of thing, all those particles, particulate, are removed through magnetism.
There's a number of processes involved in that plant. There's the cyclone, which is the filter sand. There's the filtration that goes through. There's of course the chemicals that are used to coagulate and filter the water that comes through. So that's just one of the processes involved. Okay. But it's integral naturally to all, you know, whatever aspect you're speaking about in the water plant filtration system, they're all integral. So
yeah, and it's a necessary maintenance procedure. It really needs to be done. There's only one game in town as far as who to get the price from, where we once again will dance with the one who brung us. But this looks good to me, and it has to be done.
Yep.
And these costs are allocated through the utility operating, the Victoria Beach utility operating.
Right.
Budget,
okay.
Just as an information. Erwin's got his hand up.
Oh, Erwin, yes.
Who decides how often these lamelas have to be replaced? Does the Office of Drinking Water or the engineer that does the audit provide any guidance on that?
I wouldn't want to answer that question. I know that Trevor, you know, being our, well, he was our lead or our operator in charge. Now it's Peter. But it was clear that those lamelas it was time to replace them before there's some type of breakdown.
I totally agree with that. I'm just wondering if there's some protocols in place that require us to replace them every so often. You know, it would be interesting to find out if there is some protocols in our operating guidelines.
There was an engineering study completed. I think it was last year or the year before, which was mandatory by the province of Manitoba. So that's been, you know, we're in compliance with what the province is requiring.
Yeah, and there are provisions for periodic review, and we have firms who we can deal with who make the necessary recommendations.
Well, obviously, the safety of our water system is paramount. you know, it's a little different when a backhoe breaks down. But when your water plant breaks down, that we know what the consequences of that are.
Don't we just?
Well, and to add, the lamellas that we purchased from Veolia last year, they weren't built in a day. We waited months to get these.
I think they were 15 or 18,000 or something like that. It was an expensive deal. So this will get them installed.
It's not like, you know, if it breaks down today, you're not getting new ones tomorrow. Like
Right.
this was months in the making and in the planning so that we could remove and install them in the off season.
Yep.
Sounds good.
All for the service of good, safe, potable drinking water for our residents. Good questions. Thank you, everybody. Any other comments, discussion? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm sorry. I lost my place there for a second. Be it resolved that the 2023 Board of Revision be set for Wednesday, October 12th, 2022 at 1 p.m. Have a mover, please. Steve, thank you very much. Erwin, if you'll second. Thank you very much.
Dates set by the province. There's not a lot of wiggle room in terms of dates because it's a big assessment district, the Selkirk Assessment District. And so we typically, or the municipalities typically held their Board of Revision when there is one on a Wednesday so that it doesn't conflict with the Tuesday council meeting. And it's typically in the afternoon because again, we got to accommodate the assessment department because that's when they're available. They're available in daytime hours.
Right. And there'll be a lot more information about this coming forward.
As time progresses, but
Yeah.
last year there was none. There wasn't any in 2019 either. So that
That's
hasn't
true.
been aboard for a few years. It depends if there's appeals or not.
Yeah, it depends if there are appeals or not. Okay.
And this council has never had to sit for Board of Revision.
That's true. We have not. We have not.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Penny. And thank you, Raymond. Any further comments, suggestions, questions? Okay, I will call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone. And we have a new resolution that was added. Be it resolved that the RM of Victoria Beach Council authorize the Victoria Beach Community Center, VBCC, to install an electronic pylon sign per the club's email submission dated March 11th, 2022. Further be it resolved that the VBCC be responsible to obtain all necessary permits to ensure said sign complies with all applicable regulatory requirements. May I have a mover, please?
I'll move that.
Thank you,
I'll
Grant.
second.
Penny will second. Thank you very much. Discussion, Steve.
I got to be 100% against this. I'm completely fine with the type of sign that they have over the social scene with the one color LEDs. These signs are blindingly bright. They have them all over the city, and you know when you're coming around a corner that there is one of these signs there. It is, I mean, quite frankly, it's like the sun, especially in our area, which does not have, although it's a mounting light pollution problem. Yeah, I just absolutely cannot get behind this. I don't mind if they put a brand new sign up. Again, if it's a single color LED sign like they have over the social scene, no problem. Absolutely, please be my guest. But a full color electronic pylon sign, there's no way I can possibly get on board with this one.
Well, Steve, I don't think we want to wade into the applicable regulatory requirements. How are we going to redefine what type of sign goes up? As far as light pollution, it's a long way from anywhere who might be offended by it, except the folks across the street at this social senior scene. I don't see any need for us to interfere with their choice of a good-looking sign.
I would have to agree with Graham on the location part. I don't see the sign being an impediment or a distraction to or detracting at all from cottage life, because I don't think anybody's going to see it in their yard when they are at the cottage. This sign is also something that is going to help generate revenue for the VBCC, who have had a pretty tough go of it running the last couple of years with COVID. They've got a lot of ground to make up, and this is a sign that can not only benefit the VBCC through revenue generation, but it's also a great opportunity for local businesses to advertise on the sign and heighten their awareness, the awareness of their existence within our community. And my gosh, if it is too bright, I'll bet there's a control that they can maybe tone it down a little bit. But I'd be in favor of this sign.
Well, I think we're all very proud of what the community club has done for this community. So if they choose to promote themselves a little more visibly, that's certainly all right with me. I think they deserve it.
Any other comments, questions?
I mean, you have signs like the even the sign for the birchwood. That's going to be less bright than what this thing is going to look like. Again, like these signs are all over the city, and you know when they're there. You know when they've been put up, because the light goes all the way down the road. I mean, that you can put up whatever you want, brand new sign that's all shiny. Please be my guest. Absolutely, one that advertises like the social scene. It's very subtle. It's not in your face. It's not that bright. But these things are. It's like looking at the sun in the middle of the night. I understand that it's not around anybody's cabin, but driving down that highway, I mean, it's going to change the total aesthetics of that area.
It's just like driving on the highway, and the guy coming towards you has their high beams on, or their brand new 50 gajillion candle high beams, and all you can do is divert your stare. You'll see the sign coming from a long ways, and just if it's really bothering your eyes, divert your stare.
I'm a little puzzled at the basis of your objection, Steve. Have you seen the specifications on the type of sign that they want to put up?
I have, and like as I said, these types of signs are around the city. I don't have a problem when they're in the city. It's just having a full screen LED it's just, as I said, they are unbearably bright.
Any?
Well, would it be possible to check with the VBCC and see if there's sometimes these things are on, you can put them on a timer or a dimmer or something like that. Like maybe they could dim the message at midnight or something like that. I don't know, but
I would be completely fine with that. I think that's completely reasonable.
So maybe that would make Steve feel better. I do want to say that when the social scene put their sign up several years ago, they wanted it to be on our property, which is adjacent to the road allowance there. The social scene is number 3 Atia Road, right? And I think number 1, correct me if I'm wrong, Raymond, is an empty lot basically. Yeah. And then there's highway road allowance. They wanted to put it on the highway road allowance, and or on our lot, and we said no. And they have complained, or not complained, but they have brought it to our attention in the past, previous council, that there's a lot of trees in the way, and their sign doesn't really get the visibility that they would have originally wanted. And I agree with that. If you go by there, the trees are up, and even right now, you can't always see the message on the sign. So I think there has to be a bit of a balance, and if the club can maybe time their messages and time the brightness, maybe that'll alleviate some concerns that Steve and other residents might have, if that's possible. But I do support the sign.
Is the distance from the highway an issue?
I did
Is it going to-
mention that. I did mention that to Randy, and they're going to follow all regulations according to all the regulatory requirements, as Raymond put in the resolution. So.
Mhm.
And just a note, Steve alluded to the Birchwood sign. The Birchwood is actually contemplating replacing their existing sign with a sign along the same lines as what BBCC is proposing. And that big sign is right by the highway. And if the province has no issue issuing permits with that for that, I can't see the VBCC sign introducing any peril to motorists.
Well, just because the province is completely unfamiliar with our aesthetics and our heritage. I mean, that's no reason to simply go with whatever they say. I mean, it's just I really don't think it's encompassing with sort of our culture. And we're seeing more and more lights go all the way around Victoria Beach, and the darkness is starting to go away. I have no problem with them dimming it down or even turning it off at night. But I mean, as for the way that it is right now, I hate these kinds of signs, and I can't imagine one coming into Victoria Beach.
Could we go ahead, Erwin?
I struggle with the balance between what's aesthetically appropriate given the historical nature of Victoria Beach and the quiet resolve that we hope to have, but at the same time recognizing that the community center does a marvelous job for the community, and I think it's reasonable that council support its efforts. I think we need to go back to Randy and say, can we kind of tone this one down a little bit? If it turns out to be very bright, that they have the ability with the technology to tone down the brightness of the sign.
Tone down or put a timer on it?
Maybe both.
Well, would that involve rewriting the resolution?
I mean, I would suggest tabling it and then coming back to it after we have a discussion with them.
It's a good suggestion, Steve.
Yeah, I don't know about the timing, if they needed this resolution or.
No, that's what
Sorry.
he indicated that timing was of the essence.
Timing was of the essence. So could we revise the resolution that we approve it as long as the sign can be either dimmed or shut off? I don't know, after 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night, or we have a noise violation. I don't know if we have a light violation.
Yeah, I mean
The
I
brightness
think
can be
that's reasonable.
controlled. Yeah, that the brightness can be controlled, or the sign can be turned off between certain hours. Would that be reasonable?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's perfectly reasonable, especially since when those signs are on during the daytime, you don't notice because I mean the sun's a hell of a lot brighter than what what any sign is going to do. It's the nighttime that I'm concerned about. So
It can be
I mean, I
dimmed
think it's very reasonable.
or
Yeah.
turned off. Like I'll add it at the end, but just to know what it is you want.
Okay. Then so that it's not too terribly messy. How about further be it resolved?
I'm going to add it right at the end of that statement.
And
that.
Oh, and that.
it.
Oh, okay.
The sign can be dimmed and
that council's authorization is dependent on the ability of the sign to be either dimmed or turned off during certain hours, during specific hours.
You might just add a line at the end, to be determined by a mutual agreement between council and this community center.
Well, this one asks them to specifically identify what their sign can do. Can it be dimmed? Can it be shut off via a timer?
Mhm.
Is that okay, Erwin?
But the fact the sign can be turned off or dimmed doesn't provide any control to the community in terms of the impact.
Well, no, the control will be by council.
Well, it would be by mutual agreement between
By
council.
mutual agreement, yes.
So what is it you want me to put in?
Okay, what have you got
I
here?
think Erwin's suggestion of mutual agreement.
Council's authorization,
Is subject to,
is subject to, it's subject to confirmation that the sign can be,
why don't we just say that some operational guidelines will be established by mutual agreement?
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I like that.
okay, let's keep it nice and broad.
Well, let's keep it simple. Why rain on their parade unnecessarily?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
haven't seen this sign. I don't know what it looks like. It might look just fine to me.
Right. It might be perfectly acceptable. Let's
due respect. We don't know what the hell we're talking about, and we're trying to meddle with the design of the sign.
get it up, see what it looks like, and determine then whether or not we have a problem.
Okay, hang on just 1 second.
That's what it says now.
I think it would be hard to say no to the club, given that right across the street, the social scene has a similar sign. So I think we have to be aware that the board of the VB club is not going to want to blast people on the highway with bright lights and
yeah. So I will just read out what Raymond has added. What a wordsmith, and I can read his writing. Further be it resolved that the VBCC will be responsible to obtain all necessary permits to ensure said sign complies with all applicable regulatory requirements. Council's authorization is subject to operational guidelines being mutually agreed to by the municipality and the VBCC.
You got it.
Thank you, Raymond. Any other comments, discussion, questions? I will call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody. Correspondence. Anyone have any correspondence that they wish to communicate? Penny, go ahead.
of course I do. But this isn't really correspondence, but I do have correspondence, so maybe I'll do that first. World Water Day is March 22nd, and the Red River Basin Commission is going to be placing adverts and snippets on CJOB radio to advise and enlighten folks about the Red River Basin initiatives. We received a letter recently in regard to zebra mussels, and we have the opportunity to meet virtually with the Director of Aquatic Invasive Species in early April, along with 10 other municipalities. So I think there's still not a lot of direction or support from the province on dealing with zebra mussels. So I hope this meeting can clarify some of that. And I'd like to reach out to the other RMs on the list and see if we can coordinate our questions. And I suspect many of them are similar, or many of our issues are similar. It's only 2 hours and there's 10 municipalities. If we just go around the table and everybody has the same question. So I thought I'd reach out and see if, send them our list, and see if they sort of want to coordinate this effort. So those were two of my things. And the third, most important, is this is the last council meeting of our CAO, Raymond Morrow. And I would like to express my sincere gratitude and thanks to our soon-to-be ex-CAO, again, Raymond Morrow. Raymond was our CAO for 23 years or so. We resigned for the first time in 2011, Raymond? 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
And he came back to help us get our financials in order a year or so later. He came back again in August of 2018, only for a few months. And three and a half years later, He's
Fledgling council.
Yes, he's finally retiring again, much deserved. So this council and our staff have been very fortunate to have someone like you, Raymond, who is so confident, steady, knowledgeable, and unflappable at the helm of our municipality. So I want to thank you and your wife Mona for giving us your time, talents, and expertise these past 3.5 years. And we do sincerely wish you happy, healthy second retirement from Victoria Beach. And this time Elvis may actually leave the building, much to my dismay, but we do wish you all the best.
He'll be sorely missed.
Well said, Penny, but you are in error on one point. I'm sure we did flap him a couple times.
We might have flapped back at us, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay. Thanks, Penny. And I know we all echo your sentiments, and thank you again, Raymond. I know you've helped me countless times and immeasurably so. Any other correspondence?
A brief one, a letter that we've all seen from Community Futures Winnipeg River on their Volunteer of the Year award. With council's permission, I think we should politely decline because we have our own volunteer recognition program.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay, thank you. I've been in touch with Manitoba Justice, and they've assured me by the end of this week we will have a decision on the Community Safety Officer Program agreement between the RM of Victoria Beach and Manitoba Justice. And with that in our hands, we can go ahead and start hiring our seasonal community safety officers. Tony, Aaron, and I have had the opportunity to go through the resumes that we have received, and we have some amazing candidates that we're both looking forward to interviewing and getting on board in time for. This is not an ice cream position that we're going to be hiring for. The folks that we hire to be our community safety officers will go through 3 weeks of training before they are certified as community safety officers, and they will be complementing our police constables in providing safety coverage to our residents this holiday season, this vacation season, if you will. Holiday season, that sounds like Christmas, yeah. Okay. And that was it for me in terms of correspondence. One more time, any others?
Are we going to be hiring enough CSOs so that if 1 or 2 of them flunks the training, we still have enough bodies?
That's something that that's something I actually want to talk to council about, the number of CSOs that we were originally going to hire, but that's something that we would do in camera.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
There are a couple of forces external to the CSO program that we have to address before we come up with our final numbers for complement. But a good question. Thanks, Graham. All right. Hearing no others, be it resolved that the March 15th, 2022 regular council meeting be adjourned. Next regular council meeting to be held on April 5th, 2022 at 6 p.m. at 705 1661 Portage Avenue, Winnipeg. Will this be able to pop? All right. For now, we're going to remain virtual. I'll move it, please.
I'll move that.
Thank you, Graham. And Steve, you had your hand up. You are going to be the official seconder of record. I will call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Motion carried. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody out there for watching.
Okay. Raymond, if you could hang in there for